Welcome to this extraordinary council meeting. I have a list of apologies, so please just bear with me as I go through them, and then you can let me know if we've missed anyone. So we have apologies from councillors Ashton, S. Bagent, Councillor Bennett, Bird, Copley, Cox, H. Davis, S. Davis, Flauberg, Goering, McQueen, O'Reilly, and Councillor Page-Croft. Are there any other apologies, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Did you say Councillor Houck? No, I didn't. Him. Councillor Nethsinger, Councillor Floberg, Councillor Lee, and Councillor Bond.
Are there any others? Okay, thank you very much. That now takes us straight to agenda item 1, to elect a leader of the City Council. Before I ask for nominations, I believe there are members of the Council who wish to thank Councillor Herbert for his time as leader of the Council. Those speakers I have are Councillor Todd-Jones, Councillor Scutt, and Councillor Robertson speaking for Councillor Bird. If there are any changes there, that's fine. That's just what I have here. So, Councillor Todd-Jones, you're first on my list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm going to start off by saying something which is, it's a slightly sad note when I first got to know of Lewis Herbert, and that was when I went round to the house of Ruth Bagnall. Ruth Bagnall was sadly dying of cancer. She died in 2004, and I had a meeting at her house along with former Councillor Ben Bradnack, where we were discussing what might happen with Labour Group, what might happen with the council, and Ben was extremely reassuring about that our candidate that year in Coleridge in 2004 was a certain Lewis Herbert, and there was definitely leadership potential. High standing in local government, and it came to light further to our notice that was the youngest councillor elected to the Greater London Council back in 1980, where he served for 6 years. And then was a famous picture that was circulated around a little later on amongst candidates of Lewis with, dare I say it, Ken Livingstone and John McDonnell, I think on the embankment near the GLC headquarters. At that time, as I say, it was a time of great sadness, but also of great reassurance for Ruth, that we not only had a great candidate for Coleridge, but we did have a great leader who would step up and lead the Labour group, and later on in 2014, when Labour gained control of the council, would be leader of the council, which he's done for 7 years. And it's been an honour and a privilege to serve under Lewis. I know there are lots of achievements. There are other speakers who will probably refer to a number of things that he probably considered to be his greatest achievement. But what I would say, apart from his effective leading of the group and of the City Council, during a period of great challenges, we've had over 10 years of government austerity. There's the climate challenge that's facing us, there's Brexit and COVID. So it's been a difficult time and a huge challenge under Lewis's leadership, which we met successfully as a council. One thing I was going to mention, particularly because it's of great interest to me, is housing and Lewis's important role in securing the devolution deal in 2016, part of which was 70 million funding to help really kickstart our council house building programme in the city. So 500 homes and now another 1,000 homes to come. So that's my particular reference as housing exec, and our particular interest I know of Lewis. I know he has many others and lots of other great achievements while he's been leader, which I'm sure others refer to. But they're my comments, and thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Lewis, for everything you've done for Cambridge City Council.
Thank you, Councillor Todd-Jones. I now ask Councillor Scutt if she would like to speak now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McPherson. Amongst the first words spoken by the then leader of the County Labour Group, Paul Sales, in May 2013 when we met as county councillors for the first time were of Lewis Herbert. Lewis, said Councillor Sales, as he then was, is the most adept and skilled politician I know. At that time, Lewis Herbert was leader of the Labor opposition in Cambridge City Council. The following year, he was leader of the Labor administration in Cambridge City Council. The years that we had seen and heard him deliver speeches to the constituency Labor Party General Committee meetings as opposition leader were over, a tribute to and acknowledgement of the truth of Paul Sale's words. And what are those skills, the talents of which the county group leader spoke? Acutely minded, strategically focused, a strong connection with the human factor, a personality ever present in connecting with the woman and man in the street, and a universal capacity for persuasion. All these were present in the work he did, has done, is doing, not the least in making the city deal work. The city deal, so often now gone into the recesses of memory where the truth lies but seldom beckons. The city deal, now transformed into the Greater Cambridge Partnership, the GPC. Well, I recall the days, the hours, the time, the energy, the effort Lewis Herbert spent on making it work. But for this effort, the political skills and adeptness of Lewis Herbert as City Council leader and chair then of what became the Greater Cambridge Partnership Executive Board, the program and the projects directed and constructed by it would have fallen into the disarray or disappeared into the residential side roads that threatened. Now the Histon Road project, the forthcoming Milton Road project, and others stand under the auspice of the Greater Cambridge Partnership, and they will stand in tribute to Councillor Lewis Herbert. Yet there is so much more to be said, not the least the love of the Welsh mountains, the skies, the soft twilight darkness calling to the love of country, love of landscape, love of rolling hills and plains. Thus and now, in the words of Dylan Thomas, to take, to give is all, to return what is given, along with the lovely gift of the gab. Not gone, remaining with us still to share, to continue to share the gifts of the most adept and skilled politician we all know. Thank you, Lewis Herbert, and thank you, Mayor McPherson.
Thank you for those eloquent words. Councillor Robertson, not Councillor Robertson. So, Katie, you'll be speaking for Councillor Bird?
Yes,
Thank
this is
you.
a message from Councillor Jerry Bird, who I think is watching. Where do I start? Many years before I became a city councillor, you've worked very hard over the years for residents of Cambridge, and as a leader, you've changed many things in this city for the best. You've helped me to become a city councillor and many of our Labour councillors. It's not an easy job being the leader of the council. As you know, you never get thanked, but it's our time to thank you. We do agree to disagree sometimes, but that's how democracy works. We've had our disagreements, but always carried on and got on with things. It's your time to take a little time for yourself, but not completely, as you're still a city councillor for Coleridge. So from me, Lewis, thank you so much for your support to me and Cambridge City, and I'm sure I wouldn't be where I am today without your help. I know that Councillor Anna Smith has big boots to follow, but I'm sure she'll do a good job and carry on the great work for our residents. Good luck, Anna.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad you're watching. Councillor Bick, did you wish to speak now?
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, if I may. To say, when Lewis announced his retirement, I fully expected him to say that it was to spend more time in the Jesus Green Lido. I haven't seen him there yet, but I feel confident that after today, with his newfound freedom, he'll positively be propping the bar up there. Some of us have referred to Lewis as the great disc jockey of Cambridge politics. I will leave you to think about that a bit afterwards, but on this occasion of compliments, it means that he has kept the turntable turning in what have been difficult times, and the jingles have been regular and on brand. We've obviously disagreed with the playlist on occasions, but that's the nature of political choices and differences, and actually it hasn't been discord all of the time, although that always tends to draw the attention. We want on this side to say that we respect Lewis's hard work and dedication to the role of council leader. It's a challenging job. I say nothing about internal Labour Party management, which I'm sure is a piece of cake and all sweetness and light all of the time. But external relations, which have to be managed for this council, have become more complicated as a result of sharing services, as we do, as a result of the Greater Cambridge Partnership, both of which I own up to some of the responsibility for, and also the combined authority, which I would argue he probably has a little bit. I know that Lewis has put an awful lot into fighting the corner of this city, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, and the not has not always been his fault. Although there's a council leader in Barnsley, who I suspect is known to Lewis as well as me, who has been in post since 1996, Cambridge is a tough gig in a high-profile public sector role in an articulate and opinionated city. We, on this side, would like to thank Lewis for his exertions and wish him well for the future, whether that's in the Lido or sharing more of his opinions as a back.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bick. I'm just going to have extend the Mayor's prerogative and have the last word. Don't say much, but do try to make it count. I now call for nominations for leader of the council. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Herbert, you wish to speak now?
Just as my last act, if that's possible, and my blushes have been spared by the masks. So I'd just like to just make a couple of comments and use the books of the people who've so kindly said things. I have thought when I've been at funerals that it's a great shame that people at funerals don't hear the people on don't hear all the nice things that are said, some of which never got said in their lifetime. So I was glad to organise it this way so that I got such sentiments. And they were very thoughtful points, so I'm grateful for everything said. I won't immediately be in the Lido, because I will continue to use Parkside every couple of days. I'll also avoid what the previous longest serving leader did, which was to be photoed and I don't think I'd be a pretty sight either. And on the disc side, I will let people know when I'm going to record record some music for 105 shortly before Christmas, including because I plan to sing a carol as part of that contribution in the spirit of the season. So thank you, Councillor Bick and Councillor Bird, and also to Mike Todd-Jones. Another small joke was, some politicians, when they stand back a bit, they say they're going to spend more time with their family. Well, I asked them and they said, could you just spend a bit more time with your politics? And that's exactly what I will be doing. I will be supporting the new leader who's elected, and I will be continuing to pursue the same issues that we've pursued and which all Labour councillors, and I believe, as Councillor Bick said, that we sometimes underestimate the unity that we have on themes of tackling inequality in our city, of homelessness, which Councillor Bick has done a lot of work on, given that we now have a winter we're going into when we genuinely are able to give accommodation and support to every Russ sleeper who in a much better way than we ever done, and the climate change emergency, which beggars belief that government hasn't made more efforts to resolve. So I will be continuing to sit on these benches and thoroughly enjoying being a councillor for the city that we're all proud is the best place to be. So thank you for all your kind words.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. I now call for nominations for Leader of the Council. Councillor Collis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Anna Smith, please.
And the seconder for that nomination, please. Councillor Healy.
Yeah, I'd like to second Councillor Anna Smith.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? Thank you for that. May I see all those in favour of Councillor Anna Smith for Leader of the City Council? Are there any against? And any abstentions? I therefore declare Anna Smith duly elected as Leader of the City Council. Councillor Smith, would you like to address the Council now?
You, and it's nice to actually be down here in the chamber as well. I wanted to start, of course, by paying tribute to Lewis. He has led both Labour Group and the Council with dedication and wisdom. And if I can end up being half as effective a leader as he has been, I will consider myself to have been a great success. It's a huge honour to be elected as leader of Cambridge City Council. The big city that we used to come to from Bishop Stortford when I was a child, and the place where I spent my whole working life. A city which I'm very proud to call my home, and which I've been proud to serve as both a teacher and a councillor. Thank you to this chamber for your confidence in me this evening. Late and much mourned Alan Brigham used to say that Cambridge was a city that got bigger the further away you went from it. Our historic and beautiful city, they think of our global reputation for learning, for our science and technology, and our world-famous hospitals. And all of those things are such an important part of what we are. My home and the city I'm proud to serve as a councillor, I think of more than that too. I think of all the communities around our city, from Arbury to Abbey, from King's Hedges to Cherry Hinton, from Chesterton to Coleridge, from Mitchen's Corner to Mill Road. I think of the schools, shops, parks, pubs, and places of worship which make our city our home. volunteers, faith groups, mutual aids, charities, businesses, who came together over the last 18 months to make sure that we faced COVID together. I think the fact that we are a city striving to be more equal, with so many people facing poverty. A city to address the climate and biodiversity emergencies, to promote food justice, build the creation of council homes, and to do so as sustainably as possible. I think the people I've worked with who were not part of this council, who have done so much to serve our city in so many ways. And I want to thank them all. I couldn't possibly list them all here. And I think of this council too. Our dedicated councillors and our equally dedicated council staff. This is a team to be proud of, a team with so much skill, creativity and commitment. A team which is committed to serving our city and transforming our council so that it is really best placed to meet the challenges ahead. And while I'm on the subject of teams, I want to announce that my replacement as statutory deputy will be Councillor Collis, with Councillor Martin Smart remaining as non-statutory deputy. I'm looking forward to working with them both and with all members in all parts of this chamber. And while I'm on the subject of staff, I did want to just say this to Mr. Gove, Mr. Sunak, and Mr. Johnson. Please, staff across this country, a decent national pay settlement. And please fund that national pay settlement centrally so that local authorities can afford to give their staff what they deserve. My dad got ME. He ended up on sickness benefits and was never able to work again. Money was tight, and I know my parents made a lot of sacrifices for me. They are great parents with so much wisdom and so much to offer. But I will never forget how my dad was treated during those years, as if he had no agency, nothing to contribute, as if he was just a malingerer and a scrounger. With me. And that's why I want to make sure that in our city, we do that in cooperation with everyone in it. And that we make every effort to hear and to listen to the voices of people who don't always feel valued or heard. We have tough times ahead. Years of government austerity and cuts to funding combined with the impact of COVID and Brexit to mean that our council's resources are ever more stretched. And that's the same for our residents, our businesses, and our voluntary sector. So many people in our city wondering what the next few years will bring. I wish I could stand here and promise that the council will have an answer to every problem and funding to meet every need. And I can't do that. I can promise this, that as a council, we to work in partnership and cooperation with our whole city to do the very best we can for our city. I can promise that I will do my very best to lead this council, to help all of us here do all we can to create one Cambridge, fair for all. Thank you.
Councillor Collis, Councillor Healy, it has come to my attention that in actual fact, although there was a little gap left for you to speak, neither of you indicated to do so, but perhaps I didn't give you enough time to fill that gap. So did you wish to speak now, each of you? My apologies for that. So the learned gentleman to my left has reminded me of that, so my apologies. Councillor Collis, would you like to speak first?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's fine. Rugby jokes keep just as well until after the leader is elected as they would have worked before. Like this one. I've been giving this speech a great deal of thought, as you might imagine, and it's gone through a number of different versions. There's a lot that I could say about Anna, all of it complimentary, apart, that is, from her allegiance in international rugby, of course. I'm not sure that I'm ever going to manage to convince her of the correct result in what everyone knows is the fixture of the Six Nations, Wales versus Ireland, but I will keep trying. Joking aside, Anna will make an excellent leader for the council, and Cambridge honestly couldn't be in better hands. When I out a list of what makes Anna the ideal person to succeed Lewis, top of that list was her dedication. Anna certainly puts in the hours, and she is one of the most hard-working people that I know. She has an excellent eye for detail, she's unfailingly thorough, and always ready to ask challenging questions where needed. And that is, I think, a big part of her drive to make our council the best it can be and to do the best job that we can together. Anna is measured in her approach, but also passionate when a bit of fire is what is called for. We've all heard her speak eloquently on the subject of inequality in our city, including tonight. I know she's totally committed to making life better for all our residents, and I know, as she said, that that is prompted in large part by her own experiences growing up. Speaking personally for a moment, I'm incredibly grateful for Anna's support in pushing forward our food justice agenda. It's, of course, been a huge team effort, and Anna would be the first to say so, but it has been helped immeasurably by her determination to ensure that things like the food hubs actually come to be. The first conversation we ever had, long before I was a councillor, was about food poverty, and not much has changed since. I've learned a huge amount from working with her on this and on our anti-poverty strategy. Most importantly, for a good leader, Anna knows that the best way to build a strong, effective team is to bring out the talents of others, giving them an opportunity to shine and to learn. And I think all of us, as new councillors, have benefited from her even-handed and collaborative approach. Now, Anna has already mentioned these two people, but when I was writing this, I realised that they were the two people, above all, who'd be able to give me some good material. Pat and Norman, Anna's parents. They aren't able to be here, but are watching online probably. And when I asked them about what leadership qualities Anna had shown while she was growing up, I was particularly struck by the stories they told me about various music groups and orchestras she led at school, at university, and as a teacher. And as they told me, Anna always encouraged anyone who wanted to take part, whatever their level of skill. She listened carefully to them, she never judged, and she always found a way of helping them gain in confidence. It was always about inclusion for Anna, and not much has changed. She still follows the same principles now as a councillor, and I know she will as leader. She's always known that you can't play a symphony alone, but it takes an orchestra to play it. And for Anna, it's always about people. There are tough times ahead of us, but like Anna said, we have a really great team. Cambridge, as our departing leader calls it, is a city of considerable magic. And with Anna as leader, I think we can only go from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Collis. I'm sorry for leaving you off the menu. My apologies. Councillor Healy, you also were left off the menu, but not now.
All right. So I'm honoured to have been asked to propose Councillor Anna Smith for leader of our City Council this evening, although I have to admit there wasn't too much arm twisting needed. First of all, I'd again like to acknowledge the incredible legacy of Councillor Herbert. Much has already been said about the impact of Councillor Herbert's leadership in terms of the positive changes in the city that have taken place during his tenure, but I'd like to acknowledge his personal qualities as well. As a new councillor, I've been really struck by how much time Councillor Herbert has put into supporting other councillors, providing a sounding board and finding time to help new councillors despite his incredibly busy schedule. I don't think we often associate kindness with politicians, but I think I'll associate Councillor Herbert's tenure more than anything with his kindness as a politician, whether helping other councillors or residents alike and making himself available for residents and councillors, often to his own detriment, I imagine. I do hope that he can get some more time for himself, and I look forward to continuing working with him once he joins the rest of us on the backbenches, and I do hope that he can create some mischief as a backbencher, so thank you. So what we have in Councillor Anna Smith is a similar compassionate leader, visionary and collaborative, who prioritises supporting and encouraging others and who leads with integrity. Like Lewis, I've also been struck by how Councillor Smith supports those around her, which I think is the qualities of a true leader in supporting others to flourish and develop. Councillor Smith is absolutely committed to addressing inequalities across this city. Anna has already been open tonight about her own story and her early start in life, growing up on benefits and then going on to study at Oxbridge and become a senior leader in education. I think this is an incredibly powerful signal to have someone leading the most unequal city in the UK as our leader. In my observations, particularly for women and underrepresented groups who get involved in politics, there's often a very powerful and compelling backstory and significant challenges that have been overcome, which have motivated them to enter politics. Having come from a similar background to Anna, I feel incredibly proud that we have selected someone as accomplished and competent as Anna to lead our city, but who also knows from first-hand experience the challenges of growing up on benefits and living on the breadline. Because as much as this is an incredibly achieving and world-leading city, it's also an incredibly unequal city, where some of those voices of those most disenfranchised and in need are at risk of being forgotten amidst all the achievements. I know that Anna's lived experiences and passion and commitment to equality will ensure going forward that this city works even harder to address poverty and to be more inclusive, one Cambridge Fair for all, despite the significant challenges that we all know in this room will face us in the years ahead as a city and a council. I have full confidence that with Councillor Anna Smith at the helm, she will do this, and I commend her to be appointed as our next leader.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry I left you off once more. I think we're back on proper track now. I think we're okay now. Councillor Payne, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, just to pass on Councillor Vick's apologies to run out at the critical moment. I think he and a few other colleagues have a further meeting. I just wanted to clarify for our new leader the reason why our group abstained on the vote for the leader. We didn't wish to seem impolite. We understand it's the convention, as obviously the election of the new leadership is a process taken part by the majority group, which we have not been part of, and therefore we didn't feel it was right for us to pass comments on that election process. However, we do very warmly wish Councillor Smith our congratulations on her appointment as our new leader. As members of the council, just like the members opposite, we wish you absolute success in the many challenges that we know you're facing in the future. And we hope your leadership will be successful, and indeed, as a council, we need it to be successful in facing the many challenges that we've talked about today. We noticed in a social media post recently that one of Councillor Smith's colleagues said that one of her greatest attributes was building bridges. So on our side, we really look forward to working alongside you as allies and wish you the very best on that basis in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Payne, much appreciated. That takes us to item 2, agenda item 2, combined authority appointments. Madam Leader, you wish to speak now?
I have to get used to that one, aren't I? It's a really brief explanation of this item. Normally, I would step straight in as Combined Authority Board member, and Lewis would come in as my alternate for the year. However, if we're going to provide continuity on the Combined Authority Housing Committee, which Lewis chairs, it is necessary that he remains as that board member, and therefore if I wish to attend, which I do, I will be there as alternate. So that explains why I will be proposed as alternate rather than as board member for the coming few months until May.
Thank you very much. Do we have a proposer for Councillor Smith? Councillor Herbert, thank you. Do you wish to speak? Don't want to miss anybody out again.
Just briefly, Mayor, because I do think that the housing role on the Combined Authority is something that needs to be pursued until May, and obviously in support of Councillor Smith, there will be a good transition. I missed one remark earlier, which was that Ruth Bagnall, who I had a huge amount of time for, who was leader of this council, was very adept at partnerships, and those partnerships are vital to this council. And Councillor Smith has talked about the importance of them inside the city. We won't be able to progress without them. But there was then a partnership between the leader of the city council and the Tory leader of the county council. And and now I'm reminded that we have a leader and deputy leader of the city council who are women. There is a leader and deputy leader of the county council who are women. There is a slight oddity in South Cambridgeshire in that whilst they've got a very, very able and leader who I have great respect for and who's been a pleasure to work with, they have a male as a deputy. But the remark that Ruth Bagnall made about, well, why was she able to progress things, and thereby why do I think that we've got a great team, but also, Mayor, the opportunity of doing things in the next few years that haven't really been possible, given that quite a lot of my time on various bodies has been to stop things happening, stop bad things happening. The words of Ruth Bagnall ring in my ears, and that is that partnership then was a woman thing. And I think that's going to be a repeated now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a seconder for Councillor Smith. Councillor Smart, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Does the council agree the nomination of Councillor Alan Smith as substitute member on the Combined Authority for the City Council? Those in favour? As for completeness, I will say any against and any abstentions. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the extraordinary meeting. Our next scheduled council meetings are on February the 24th and March the 3rd. Thank you very much for attending. Everybody have a safe journey home. Thank you.